Hello everyone, good evening and welcome back to TTTV. Tonight this is TTL F2 round number 4, which takes us to the Canadian Grand Prix in the legendary circuit in Montreal. My name is Kieran McGinley and joining me in the commentary box, same as last week, it's James Head. James, how are you tonight?
I am doing very, very well, Kieran. How's yourself?
Yeah, I'm alright. I had a trip to the hospital again. Something bit me and it was venomous, so that put me out of action for a couple of days. But yeah, other than that, I'm all good, on the mend, and got those pesky antibiotics. But how about you, James? I bet you've had a less eventful week than I've had.
Yeah, I've had a less eventful week really. It's because probably I haven't been doing anything much. I've been doing League of Europe commentary as well, Division 1 on a Saturday. So yeah, that's been keeping me busy.
And don't forget, you can follow the league on Twitter at TTL_F2. You can also follow me whilst you're there. It's at KSMCG F1. You can also follow James there if you like as well.
Yeah, you can follow me there at B52 Head. I do post up some random stuff about Sunderland Football Club, so bear with me on that.
Yeah, absolutely bear with him on that. Anyway, we're not here to discuss Sunderland Football Club, James. Get your head in the game. We're here to talk about round 4.
No pun intended there either.
No pun intended whatsoever. So it takes us to the feature race here in Canada for the F2 race. And of course, if you're unfamiliar with this league setup, it's a one-shot qualifying, and then it's 100% race distance of the feature race. That means it's just over half distance of what the Formula 1 race. You know what? It's much easier to tell you how many laps there are when we get into the race. That's about right. James, the Canadian Grand Prix then, such an awesome track as well, quite narrow. It's a mixture between a street circuit and a permanent race circuit. Have you had some good times here?
I have had some good times here. There's been plenty of positives rather than negatives, let's just say, in my league racing career. But in my commentary career, I've commentated on this quite a few times. Of course, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, 14 corners at the helm, 3 DRS straight, of course, with the recent addition of the DRS zone between turn 7 and turn 8. So it will be interesting to see how the drivers cope, especially with that twisting first sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is probably one of my favourite tracks on the calendar, so I'm really looking forward to it. Good evening to Wilco, who is in the chat there. Are we going to see a lot of spins today? Well, let's just wait and see, shall we? Obviously, it's the second race these drivers have been in these cars, and as we saw last time out, it was a pretty dominant display by one driver in particular, James.
Yep, that was Siege, if I do remember from last week. I do apologise if I did get that wrong, but it was Siege last week that did win.
Yes, he did, yes. So you're all right.
Oh,
you got it
God.
right, James. You're okay. You're doing great. We've also got Jeffrey in the chat saying, hello, everyone. Good to see you again. Good to see you too, Jeffrey. They're in MP Motorsport looking for a good result today, and hopefully it will come his way. Hopefully we're not waiting for many more drivers. 12 so far in the lobby. It's not a bad turnout, but we've had a couple of dropouts recently. Also, we want to send our good wishes over to Lyronix, who is currently he's in for surgery on his leg, so we wish him all the best here from TTTV, and hopefully he makes a very speedy recovery.
Yeah, I've got to echo those comments as well. Been a rotten year for Lyronix in his personal life. I've been talking to him about that, but again, I'll echo what Kieran said. Best wishes go out to Lyronix in his recovery. Apparently he's going to be back next week. I'm not sure how true that's going to be, but hopefully, just remember, health and recovery is the first priority over racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wish Lyronix all the best, and hopefully we'll see him back very, very soon. So the Canadian track then, 14 corners, as you said, James, 3 DRS straights, 1 along the start-finish straight towards that left-hander at turn 1. You've obviously got the second DRS zone from turn 7 to turn 8, that little bit of a straight there. And then, of course, you've got that kilometre-long straight. You're on the full throttle there in a Formula 1 car for 15 seconds down that long, long straight. And the DRS zone happens just before the slight right-hander at turn 12. It's been moved forward compared to last year to try and encourage overtaking into the chicane, but as we've seen in one year in particular, James, that chicane can cause a little bit of troubles. Probably called the Wall of Champions for a reason.
Yep, Wall of Champions for a reason. Of course, it was the now I've got to get this right.
Go on, get it right. Go on.
It was the 1999 Canadian Grand Prix weekend where Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve and Michael Schumacher all crashed on that weekend, and that is why it's famously called the Wall of Champions. Of course, the track is quite stop-start, lots of heavy braking zones, and the famous hairpin. Are we going to see overtaking at the hairpin? I like to think so.
Absolutely, and of course the turn 10 hairpin there stages one of the most dramatic crashes seen in recent Formula 1 history, when Robert Kubica hit the wall hard after mounting the rear wing of, I believe it was Jarno Trulli, and hitting that wall, the inside and outside wall. It was a huge crash, a dramatic crash, and somehow he only walked away with a couple of broken bones in his feet and legs. So he then came back the next year for a fairy tale one and only win. Imagine crashing out hard at a certain race, then going back a year later to absolutely win it, and at the time hand what was BMW Sauber the lead in the Constructors' Championship, and of course gave Robert Kubica the lead in the championship, in the Drivers' Championship. So crazy times when we look back 11-12 years ago, but it is a track here that has claimed the ego of many, and it's claimed quite a few cars in the process as well.
It has, yeah. I mean, Robert Kubica's crash, I think it's just the stuff of dreams, really, that he came back to win the year after his crash. It was absolutely phenomenal. We are about to get started, though, for one-shot qualifying and 100% feature race.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you all know, one-shot qualifying is quite tough to follow, so you all have to bear with us. Hopefully, James, we ride on board with the same driver, so it makes it a little bit easier. Yeah. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But
pick and mix. I think it's going to be this one-shot qualifying. Pick and mix. Pick
mix.
One driver and just commentate on the lap.
Well, we've got Alan in the chat there saying, evening gents. Evening to you, Alan. Hopefully this time around goes a little bit better than the last time in Spain. It was a horror show for Alan Kay, but he did pick up some points, and that's the important thing when it comes to league racing like this. You have to get to the start-finish line to score those vital points, and that's exactly what Alan did last time out.
I think Alan Kay is the avid professional when it comes to being a lap down, but still continuing on, because easily other drivers could just retire out the race and not score any points. But Alan Kay, ever the professional, and that's what we like to see. Keep calm and carry on. That's his mantra that he's going off.
Absolutely, and it's great to see so many of you in the chat there and watching on the stream. We're just waiting for the last couple of drivers now to join us. According to our weatherman, Alan Kay, it's going to be a dry race, James. And here we go then, riding on board, I believe. This is going to be Jeffrey here as he makes his way now towards the first corner here, braking hard for turn 1 as we now feed the car through in towards turn 2. Very tricky traction zone as the track here starts to go uphill over the crest. Watch out for the back end there, it will try to step out on you as we now head towards turns 3 and 4. Stewards are very strict through here. You've got to stay away from those curbs. If even one of those wheels go over, it's a bad day for you. Now heading towards the braking zone of turn 6 and 7. Again, turn 6, watch out for the curb on the inside, same as turn 7. They're easy to over-rotate the back end and have it spin all over the place. Into this second DRS zone now as we head towards turns 8 and 9, braking now for that turn 8 corner. Watch the sleeping policeman on the right hand side. You can take the sleeping policeman on the left hand side, it won't compromise you too much. And now we head now in towards turn 10. This turn 10 hairpin now, heaviest braking zone on the track now as you slow the car all the way down as Jeffrey slightly misses the apex there, but he's down to first gear. Now can control the wheel spin as he exits turn 10 into that slight kink of 11, and now it's full throttle all the way towards that chicane. DRS open much earlier than in previous years as we now head all the way down towards turn 13 and 14. It gives you a chance to recover and think about how you're going to tackle this chicane that just caught so many drivers out in the past, jumping over those sleeping policemen. Really nicely done by Jeffrey as he makes his way now on towards the start finish straight and keeping that steering wheel as straight as possible. It's White who grabs pole position, 119.3, Jeffrey 121.2 we were riding on board with, but White there grabbing pole position for the feature race here in F2.
Fantastic lap by White. Of course, Jeffrey being about 2 seconds off the pace, a very respectful lap from him. Everyone did manage to set a time, and TTG White on top. There is your running down through qualifying.
Absolutely, and remember, in this race, you have to make one mandatory pit stop to make it to the end. And of course, White there grabbing 4 points for pole position, so that's going to help him in his championship charge as he looks to try and hunt down Siege. Siege there on the front row of the grid for Carlin, only a 10th off the pace. Watch out for Navy and Sean as well. Sean, who was in a bit of a race of his own last time out. And let's see, James, if Maximus has the pace and the consistency this time to make it to the checkered flag.
I think Maximus needs to have the consistency, especially around Canada. He needs to have that consistency. He doesn't want to let that back end step out like we saw in Spain last time out. And goodness knows how many times he spun it, and the slow crash at the end of his race was just absolutely dire, to be honest. But let's hope he does a better job here tonight, and I'm sure he will.
Well, we're just getting ready now for the formation lap here in F2 for the feature race. Let us know who you're backing tonight, who are the flags flying for you tonight, who are you supporting as well. As, of course, the teams on the right-hand side have to use the Formula 1 style paddock. They're all in, you can see one of the team members in the Ferrari pit crew. But luckily, they're wearing red and white, so it's not a total disaster.
Yeah, it looks a bit weird, to be honest, just like that. You thought you would have the F2 pit crew in, but obviously not.
Well, they do. That's the thing.
Interesting to note, however, by the way, George only won starting on a set of softs. He qualified on a set of softs in one shot. Is that going to be his strategy going into this race? We'll have to wait and see, because we're about to get going for the formation lap.
Absolutely, so formation lap is underway now as White will lead the field all the way now down towards turn 1. And I don't know about you, James, but I'm looking forward to this one. White in the Chiru car making his way now towards turn 1. Of course, White here, I believe his teammate, is it Jeffrey? No, it's not. I've got to get used to all the colours and all the cars. But yeah, Jeffrey's there starting in 9th place. And Graham just out qualifying his teammate by a couple of tenths of a second, puts him into 8th place. Let's have a look at the rest of the field. Then we've got Siege there, last time's race winner, who starts 2nd on the grid here. Navy is in 3rd. Navy's been showing some good pace recently. Can he convert that into a podium? Sean here did get the last podium spot last time out. He starts 4th this time on the super soft tyres. So he's got to try and get past Navy first. Maximus, who had quite a race last time out, but maybe for all the wrong reasons. He lost the car about 3 times during the race, which cost him a really good position. Can he try and settle those nerves, keep his head down and get a much needed good result? Mays here in 6th place as he looks to try, well, he wanted to try and overtake Maximus, but then thought better of it as he makes his way now down towards the hairpin. Casper has been worried about his pace. He's been saying it in the chat now. He's 2 seconds off the pace, so he's saying, well, this is great, but he starts in 7th place in the midfield, so let's see what he can do in the race. It's all about time trial, sure, but then you get to the race pace and race fuel. We'll see how that gets on. Graham and Jeffrey, we've already discussed 8th and 9th. You've got Yusi there in 10th in the BWT Arden car in the top 10. Alan Kay in the Dams car in 11th place. Crazy Legs there in the Prima Racing car in 12th place. And then George in the Carlin in 13th place. White then makes his way through that last chicane and goes slightly past the Hall of Champions there as we look to grid up now for the feature race here in Canada. We are moments away here then from the start of this race, as all 13 cars will be lining up on the grid ready to go for this one. We're just waiting for Crazy Legs and George to get to their grid positions, and we'll get this race underway very shortly. 39 laps here in Canada for the feature race here, and we are moments away now. Here we go then, counting up to those 5 red lights. Round 4 is underway, and what are the starts like? Lots of wheel spin from everybody. Looks like White and Siege, they're going to go side by side. In fact, Siege has taken the lead. He's got a much better start down in towards turn 1, and White can do nothing about it. Siege then takes the lead. White having to go round the outside. Look at Sean there, looking to go up the inside. Loosens up back end slightly, and now Navy is out to slink his way back through after a mistake there from Sean. Down in towards turn 3 we go. Looks like all the cars got off to a clean start. There is Yuzi there, who's gone from 10th to 7th, so a really good start from the BWD car as they now make their way all the way towards turns 6 and 7 here. Watch out for this. Cold tyres and heavy fuel will mean a warrant back end there as Crazy Legs and Graham there are fighting for position as Crazy Legs there in 10th place. Graham now gets ahead. He's up into 9th place, and what's going on there? It looks like a battle for the lead. White trying to go around the outside. But not quite done there. Look at Navy behind as well. He's looking for an opportunity as well. Down towards the hairpin they go. White has to go defensive. Up the inside he goes. Siege leaves him the room, and that could be a mistake. What about the exit and the traction outside of turn 10? We've also got a battle behind between the Dams car and Casper. That's Casper and Mays there as we now head towards the chicane for the first time. Look at White here. He's got the overspeed. He had the slipstream, and look at this. He's got the straight line speed as well. Down towards the final chicane here. He's got the inside line, and Siege lets him have it. White takes back the race lead that he lost on the the very first lap. So White then, after the first lap, leads this way, but look at this, Siege is fighting back here. Down towards turn 1 we go. Siege still trying to fight his way through. You've got, oh, Casper there. Is it Casper? No, it's White who makes contact with Navy. He missed his braking zone completely into turn 1 there. And what damage is there? There is damage to the right-hand side of that car of Sean there. I believe there's also damage to Casper there, who's fallen behind. But a crazy, crazy start. Great battling for the lead. Drama in the midfield. What more could you want?
Yeah, dear me. My voice is going and I haven't even started commentating. Yeah, it was Sean actually trying to dive it down the inside of, I do believe it was Navy. The contact was made and Sean has got that damage, as you say. 4/10 of a gap separating White and Siege though at the minute. And most positions gained early on. Uzi up 4 positions, up to 6 from 10.
Yeah, it's been a great start from Uzi in the BWT car. It's a shame he hasn't got a teammate today, but he's fighting all on his own out there. He's got yellow flags in sector 2. Maximus there. Does he make contact? Does he make contact with the back of that BWT car? It doesn't look like it, but look at this. Casper now looking to try and take advantage of Maximus's mistake in towards the hairpin. They're going to run side by side, the two teammates here, as they make their way towards 14 and 15 there. Oh, sorry, 13 and 14. My apologies. But no dice there between the two teammates. You've also got, I believe that's Crazy Legs and Jeffrey in towards the final chicane, battling away as well, as this is riding on board now with Graham and Alan Kay fighting over 11th place. So wherever you look right now, there is a battle going on as the two teammates of Casper and Maximus keeping each other close company. You've also got Alan Kay, who's just made a move on Graham down towards turn 1, but Graham sticks it round the outside, up the inside, in towards turn 2, and holds on to that position. What's important though for Alan Kay, oh, it's loses the back end slightly there. What he has to remember is he's on soft tyres, whereas the car ahead of him, Graham, is on super soft tyres, so he's got to keep his eye on that tyre wear. Meanwhile, Casper here is really trying to pile the pressure onto Uzi, but Uzi looking towards 5th place now as Uzi makes a mistake. Oh, that's Casper who collects the wall out of turn 7. Does he have damage on the left-hand side of that front wing? I can't quite tell, but there goes Maximus up the inside. He takes away 8th place, and we can only, time will tell if there's understeer to that guy. Oh, he lost the back end there. Maybe a slight bit of downforce lost. It doesn't look too bad actually, that front wing, so he's got away with it. So he can count his lucky stars that that ART Grand Prix car still has that front wing intact.
Yeah, he does. Just brush the wall, no front wing damaged.
Here comes Maximus then. Oh, look at this, Uzi there, putting him into the left-hand side wall. Just about enough room, but Maximus, look at this, the bravery. He will try and go around the outside at turn 13 and 14. That's exactly what he's done. Really well held there from Maximus there. The bravery and the guts there to keep on going. When the gap was closing, he stuck his nose in there. Meanwhile, Casper there is using a little bit of teamwork there as Uzi falls back down to 8th place. Casper taking advantage of maybe a Uzi that's been just taken aback from that move. He's now down to 8th place as we head now onto the 4th lap of this race. It is White who leads. Siege is in 2nd place, Navy 3rd, Mason 4th. It's a great start from him. He's just kept his head down and out of trouble. Sean in 5th, Maximus 6th, Casper 7th, Uzi in 8th, Crazy Legs in 9th, Jeffrey in 10th. They're currently now battling over that 10th place right now. Graham in 11th, Alan Kay 12th, and George is in 13th place after spinning early on.
Yeah, fantastic start to this race. Opening 3 laps, clean as you like from every single driver out on track. I do apologise, by the way, my mic did cut out. I might have unplugged it, just not on purpose, let's just say. Uzi though, right on the back of Casper. Casper just making a little bit of mistake there into the turn 8 and 9 chicane. Now at the hairpin, Maximus just running wide on the back of Sean. Not really anybody close enough as Uzi, just made some mistake there at the hairpin.
Yeah, he was in 3rd gear there and just too much wheel spin. This could be a chance for Crazy Legs here. Does he have the DRS? He doesn't. Uzi does though, so he's able to recover that one. But Uzi there getting away with that one in the pink and white car of the BWT car. But a little bit of a moment there on the exit of turn 10 there as Crazy Legs gets really close to the back of Uzi now. Crazy Legs still doesn't have the DRS, but look at this. He's got the slipstream now as we head now towards turn 1. Will he go for a move up the inside? He thinks about it, wants the gap to be there. Fairness to him, the Arden car leaves the gap, but Crazy Legs tries to go around the outside. No doing there as Jeffrey looks ominously up the inside, trying to make a move stick, but he loses the back end out of turn 2 and drops back a little bit, no doubt, with these two battling. Crazy Legs and Uzi runs wide at the 4th turn there. They do make contact, and it looks like Uzi just gave up the position there as Crazy makes contact with the outside wall at turn 7. Unbelievable. And has he got damage? Yes, he has, to the front wing on the right-hand side. And there is another bit of end plate off there as well. So there's cars losing it. Oh, there's Alan Kay off in the background. Hits the wall hard. And he's lost a huge chunk of his front wing now. That just seemed to happen out of nothing. It's just like the rear tyres just gave up the grip. And now he's lost a huge chunk of that front wing. That's going to be a trip back to the pit lane for Alan Kay there. And the Downs car of Alan Kay once again having a damning weekend.
Yeah, Alan Kay not having a great weekend at all. He's about to get overtaken by George as well. He's been making mistakes galore early on. Oh, Crazy Legs is off! Crazy Legs is off the hairpin! Don't know what happened there. A reset to track has been used.
No, it
hasn't. That was a bit of a strange one.
No, it hasn't. He ghosted there. So that is Crazy Legs there making a mistake out of turn 10. And he just goes there. That's why he disappeared off the screen. Looks like he's got a bit of front wing damage. And George and Alan Kay there are able to move up a position. Although Alan Kay, we are expecting him to come into the pits. And makes contact with George. Oh, that's the folly there. And it's just looked like Alan Kay just wasn't expecting George to... I don't know. It's the common folly of that pit lane where the racing line you have to brake much earlier, and it's just caught Alan Kay completely off guard. That's bizarre.
That was so strange. I didn't even catch that. So I don't know what happened. I'll have a look back at it on replay. However, Uzi's right on the back of Jeffrey. They're keeping quite consistent here. About 3/10 of the gap. George's got a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. On lap 6 out of 39, it's White, Siege and Navy are top 3. And just a note, by the way, Casper has been into the pits, and he's come out in a set of softs, so he's made his mandatory pit stop.
Well, here is Yuzi then, looking for a move down in towards turn 10, nothing doing there. And what's important about Jeffrey is that he's on the soft tyre, so he's on the harder compound at the moment. So Yuzi's going to have his work cut out to try and get past and stay ahead. Because as time goes on, Yuzi's going to have more and more of a disadvantage on these tyres. But here he comes then with the DRS down towards turns 13 and 14. That chicane, which has the ominous wall on the outside. Yuzi up the inside he goes and takes that position away. I think Jeffrey just thought it wasn't wise to battle there. Maximus is into the pits then from what was 6th place. So it looks like he's going on to a fresh set of tyres. I wonder if there's a front wing change involved there for Maximus. Let's have a look. Let's see what the team have prepared. Yes, it is a front wing change for Maximus. So he's hit the wall out there. And of course, this much reduced pit lane crew that we see in F2. Look at that. The guys have to work on the front wing first, then change the front tyres. So it takes an age to repair the car if you get front wing damage. That is the ultimate penalty. But away he goes at long last. It will have felt like an eternity there for Maximus, but he's finally out then, and George then pulling over to the right hand side. That's all those yellow flags are for, that he's just trying to get out of the way. Second place then, meanwhile, is being contested. Siege versus Navy in towards turn 10. Siege taking a deeper line to try and focus on the apex. Oh, Navy loses the back end, just about kept it in check. But what's important about Navy is he's on the soft tyre as well. He's on harder tyres than Siege and White, and he's managing to keep up with them. So it's really good signs there for Navy. If he can try and make that work in his second stint on the super soft tyres, he might have a chance here.
Yeah, he was closing at about an average of about 5/10 per lap. He was 3.5 seconds off the race lead, and Navy is really closing in. And you can see already he is beginning to close in again. It's less than 4 seconds separating the top 3 at this stage. Just watching above Jeffrey, I thought he was going to go for a move, but he's not.
Yeah, I thought that too. I thought that too. I thought, no, don't go for a move up the inside. You're not close enough. But yeah, Jeffrey's clearly heard us in the commentary box. The voices of reason as he's not come in. What's going on there?
Casper Maximus pretty much side by side at the hairpin. Maximus, of course, on a fresher set of the soft compound of tyre, trying to get his teammate Casper. Both of them already been into the pit. It's going to be interesting. Is he going to go for around the outside? Surely not. Surely not. He lets him through. Fair play.
Oh, but he's lost the back end immediately!
Oh!
And suspension damage!
Oh!
Well, Maximus there, his day is done. Just a heavy right foot, and that is all that needed out of the chicane there. The wrong wall for it to be the Wall of Champions, but Maximus's day is done. I think the only positive he can have is that it didn't go up to 39 laps and then crash out. But that will be a huge blow for Maximus there. But what that means is more positions for the guys behind. That now puts Crazy Legs into the points. As Alan Kay there in 11th place now. He moves up a position. But yeah, it just seemed like they wanted to battle. And then Casper just thought, no, you know what? There's no point. I'll let you through. And it just seemed like Maximus just got a bit overexcited on that right foot. and it's cost him dearly because he's out of this race.
It has cost him dearly. It's so unfortunate. Jeffrey, by the way, is right on the back of Uzi coming through the wall of champion chicane at 13 and 14. I think we're going to get side by side down into turn 1. Jeffrey going to go around the outside. Is he on Uzi? Is he? He's going to come in around the outside. Brilliant move on the set of softs. And Jeffrey's got the move done. Brilliant move, and he's up to 6th. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, excellent move there from Jeffrey. Tying that to perfection, and you see there just can't quite battle on those wearing tyres, and they're getting worse and worse every lap. As you can see there, he understeers into the wall on the exit of turn 4 there. He's got to be careful about that. He doesn't want any damage to that front wing. Looks like he's got away with it though. Let's join this battle with second place once again, because Siege is still under pressure from Navy. Navy actually gets onto the grass there. Oh no, that was George just up ahead getting out of the way. I thought Navy there got onto the grass and it compromised his braking point. However, Navy once again has the DRS and is now trying to chase down Siege here in the Carlin car, all the way now down towards the chicane at 13 and 14. He's closing in very quickly. He's going to go for it. He's going to go up the inside in towards turn 13, and Siege just lets him go. No point in battling, he says, and Navy now moves up to second place. But look at Siege on the cutback. He prioritised the exit of 14 now as we head towards the first corner. Then up the inside he goes, and that's great defensive driving from Siege there. Really well executed, and he's managed to hold on to second place.
Yep, absolutely fantastic. Siege. Crazy Legs is out.
Where is Crazy Legs gone? He might have gone out of turn 4, maybe turn 5.
Turn 7, I think.
Let's have a look here as Uzi comes into the pits. I can't quite see him just yet. But we've got green flags there. Oh, yellow flags are up ahead. This is at turns 8 and 9. And let's see here, what's happened to Crazy Legs?
There he is. Oh, he's retired on track, is he?
I think he has retired on track. So Crazy Leg calls it a day then, and that puts Alan Kay now up into the point. So we're on the 10th lap here, and already we've got cars being lapped here as Navy now is still trying to put the pressure on Siege. Siege, last time winner, is in second place right now, almost 4 seconds behind Navy, and Navy's really struggling out of turn 10 here to keep that back end in check, and it's costing him a move every single time down towards the chicane. I don't know what more he could do. Maybe the suspension at the rear is just not quite enough. It's not quite good enough to keep that back end in check, but nevertheless Siege is in, championship leader into the pits then from second place, and this looks like it's going to pit stop to go onto those soft tyres. Where will he rejoin? May as well go through to take third place. So in comes Siege then from second place. And it's a change of front wing as well. So he's going to be there for a long, long time. So that's a bit of front wing damage that he had. Must have picked it up early on. And he was still able to hold off of Navy. So it's really good driving from him. The only problem is now that he's lost all that time in the pit. Away he goes at long, long last. But he's going to find his way well and truly down the order. At the moment, it looks like he's going to rejoin in 7th place ahead of Uzi there. But that's going to be a painful one for Siege then. He's going to rejoin in 7th place. And let's see what he can do from here.
Yeah, the advantages of Siege coming out in 7th though, he has got a free track. He's got no dirty air at all. He's got a free track ahead of him to actually put it down. While Navy, I think, has just overtaken, if I'm mistaken, Alan Kay, who was just in behind. He's just had a little bit of traffic there on that lap.
We're watching on board here with Casper as he looks to try and hunt down Uzi for the next position, which will be 8th place for Casper.
Oh! Alan Kay's up for the hairpin.
He is.
Completely spun it.
Yeah, and of course that's the ghost car kicking in. That's why it just disappears. But yeah, that looks like a bit of loss of traction out of the hairpin there. And it's just spun the car around. Does he have damage to that front wing? Hard to tell with these cars. Really is hard to tell. The front wings are so basic, it's really hard to tell if there's any damage to them. The only way we can tell is if the end plate is gone on the side of it. Meanwhile then, Uzi doesn't get a great exit out of turn 9 there. And actually Casper backed off of the throttle. Look at this then. Uzi shuts the door there in towards the hairpin. And a lot of faith in Casper there, but he did hold off the throttle there, so he wasn't quite confident in going for the move. Maybe he wants to go for the move now that he realises there's DRS here. This might be a strategic move from Casper as he makes his way now down towards turns 13 and 14. He's closing in very quickly on Uzi. Uzi moves to the left-hand side, but Casper just not confident enough to go up the inside. Maybe just thought he was too far back. Graham, meanwhile, is in the pits, currently in 7th place. But yeah, Casper there just lacking the confidence he had early on in this race. Maybe with that battle with his teammate as well, but just not confident to go for that move against Yuzi just yet.
Yeah, maybe he's realised as well that George is just ahead. He must be about 2 seconds ahead of these guys out on track. He is about to be lapped by these two, so maybe Casper possibly went for a mistake from George, which then concertinas it up back to Uzi, then he can get the move done on Uzi. White's in the pits, by the way. White's in from the lead.
Yep, race leader White into the pits then, so that means the lead is handed over to Navy. So in comes White, then the Charu team get to work, and it's a lot easier than at Siege's pit stop. All they have to do is 4 tyres, and away he goes. So where will he rejoin there? Where is Maze? Maze comes into the pits as well. Sean stays out. So let's see where White rejoins. And of course, it's a bit of a bizarre pit lane because you rejoin just on the entrance of turn 2. Maze is in then, and the Dams team popping on a fresh set of soft tyres. Let's see where White rejoins. There he goes then. He's going to be battling Jeffrey here, it looks like, in towards turn 2. In fact, he just rejoins ahead of him, but a lot of understeer there. And Jeffrey then is behind at the moment. Siege then still manages to overtake Maze, does he, as we head now towards turn 2. Yep, Siege still rejoins ahead of Maze, so he's now up to 5th place, which means that maybe out on track Navy is going to be ahead of Siege, but of course it's still all in the balance.
It is all in the balance. Just while you were watching that, Casper's just got the move done on Uzi. Clean move down the inside of turn 13. Brilliant move, and Casper is up to 7th. And that's on all the tyres as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Uzi seems to be struggling there out of turn 2 to get the grip in the car. Maybe he's struggling with tyre temperatures, whatever the reason is. He is struggling out there, but he's now in 9th place. So lap 13 of this race then, about to be lap 14 here. Navy of MP leads the way. Sean is in 2nd in the Campos car as he makes his way now towards 13 and 14. There is White then in the Charu car in 3rd place, and in the distance there you can just see Jeffrey in 4th as Sean now pits in from 2nd place. And it's a really tough pit lane as well. You're slowing down from one of the fastest parts of the track. In comes Sean then, and it's another change of front wing. How many of these have we seen? Of course, those front tyres then don't get changed, and the rear tyre men could just take their time with this. But yeah, it's a painful pit stop there for Sean as he just waits and waits. Siege setting the fastest lap of the race. There goes Sean at long last. Siege a 122.3 in that Carlin car. It looks like he means business as he looks to try and hunt down the cars ahead.
Yeah, he does mean business. Casper just picked up a 3-second time pump there on your screen. Sean is going to rejoin ahead of these guys, just about. There is Casper on the right-hand side. It's going to be very close, but I think Sean's going to get this out the pits. He is. It's going to be about the same gap as White when he came out of the pits. About 1.5 seconds there. So Sean is out ahead, and he's got a clear track ahead of him now.
Yeah, that's really important. He's got a new front wing as well. He's got to be careful not to damage that front wing again, especially on this longer stint. But there we are then. White is the first of the leaders to pit in. So he is 20 seconds behind Navy at the moment. So it's however long Navy wants to go on these tyres at the moment. He's currently on his 15th lap on these tyres, done 14 of them so far, and you can get over half distance in these tyres. So we're expecting Navy out for at least another maybe 10 laps before he's deciding to come into the pits or umming and ahhing about whether to come in. We've seen the super soft tyre runners pit in about lap 12 onwards, so that gives us a rough idea that maybe around about lap 25 we're going to see Navy into the pits.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And Siege, he passes lap 122.1. And just to point out on Siege, actually, that front wing change has really cost him. He's about 12.5 seconds off White at this stage for the next battle for the lead, if you could even call it the battle. Closest battle on track, though, is Casper on Sean, who seems to be struggling. I'm not sure if he's just made a mistake there at the Wall of Champions. He's just lost about 3/10.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I can't see damage to the front wing, but maybe he did have a bit of a moment on the exit of the chicane. But this is just going to mean that Casper's going to close that gap. Maybe seeing a mistake from the driver in front of you really does wake you up and say, you know what, I can get that position. They're usually there, 3-second time penalty, but multiple warnings. That's usually because of those pesky track limits, which are so strictly enforced here at the Canadian circuit. So that'll be added to the end of his race. Navy then, meanwhile, still leads the way. 19.7 ahead of White at the moment, with Jeffrey in third. It is Siege in fourth at the moment. He is setting fastest lap after fastest lap. There's Maze then in fifth place. Sean in sixth. Casper in seventh. Yuzi in eighth. Graham in ninth. Alan Kay rounding out the points right now. And George in 11th place right now, just tackling turn 6 and 7. So the closest battle on the track, as you said, James, is the battle between Sean and Castle. 1.6 is the current gap as Siege goes into the 121s. It's 121.9 from the Carlin man as he's closing in on Jeffrey at a huge rate of knots. The gap is now 2.8 seconds.
Yeah, 2.8 seconds. That gap is going to diminish very, very quickly indeed. And that gap for the lead, 11.1 seconds, about 9/10 taken out from that net battle for lead at this stage. It's still over 10 seconds though, and White will be counting himself lucky that he's came into the pits on 3-lap-old softs now. Navy ahead of him still to come into the pits. He will have, of course, the net lead of the race. And Siege has now dropped that gap to under 2 seconds.
He is closing in so quickly right now. 1.4 is the gap, and that's the difference between the fresh tyres and the worn tyres as we make our way towards turn 10 now. I don't think Siege is going to have DRS because the activation point is just after turn 9, so you've got a long run towards that hairpin. So no, he doesn't have DRS there as we make our way now down towards 13 and 14. But he's certainly got the pace on Jeffrey right now. Those fresh tyres are serving him really well there as we now head towards 13 and 14. As in fact, Jeffrey picks up a 3-second time penalty for that last corner cut at the final chicane. So he's exceeding track limits too many times as Siege then sets a 122.4. To put that into perspective, Navy setting low 123s right now.
Yeah, low 23s indeed. Siege just had a moment at the wall of champion chicane. Just had a little bit of a moment. Nothing to write home about at all. But he is still gaining on Jeffrey. That's the most important thing at this stage. And that gap sort of stabilising between him and White. It's around 11.5 seconds. But Siege, I think, we could see an overtake done. DRS will be enabled, of course. And I think this should be very easy. He's going to get past him. And Siege is through and he took the P3. Probably the easiest move we'll see all night.
I think so. I don't think Jeffrey made that too difficult, did he? So Siege is now through and into third place he goes. And now the challenge is to try and catch the cars ahead. He's got Navy, which is about 29.9 seconds ahead right now. So that is a huge gap for Siege to try and diminish. But, well, he is the championship leader for a reason. It does seem like a job he could do, no matter how impossible it seemed. But he's got to try and catch White, who is on the same strategy as himself, on fresher tyres as well. Let's see how Siege handles this pressure.
Siege will handle the pressure very well. It's 11.8 seconds to White at the minute. Navy, looking at the pit stops, is Navy going to come out in second with his current strategy?
He could do. It's going to be close, I think, because normally the Canadian pit lane is quite short, and the complexity of it rejoins you around the outside of turn 2 can actually be an advantage, especially if you're on fresh tyres. You get a better exit out of turn 2. Navy having a little bit of a moment there out of turn 9, clipping the curb too much, and that just encouraged the wheel spin. He's able to keep it under control though, but White and Siege, they'll see their gaps go down just a little bit more than they expected, especially when they now head towards that chicane as Casper comes into the pits then. So Casper from 8th place pits in. That will be his second stop of the race. And looks like he'll probably go on to another set of soft tyres. That will definitely get him to the end of the race. So meanwhile then, it is Navy who leads. White is in second with Siege in third. You can see already the difference between Siege and Jeffrey in that pace. The gap now is 2.8 seconds. That's just over 1 lap.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from Siege, but that gap still between White and Siege is stabilised, 11.5 seconds, and I can't really see Siege getting any closer. It's just sort of stabilised a bit, but Siege is pulling away from Jeffrey, and he'll eventually come into the clutches of Maze if he doesn't decide to come into the pit. Watch him here. Nope, he's going on for another lap at least.
Graham picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Hasn't been the first one, and I can guarantee you he won't be the last one, with 21 laps still left to run here in the feature race in TTL F2. And your race leader, Navy, is currently leading White by 16 seconds, but Navy is still yet to stop.
Yep, Nevy's still yet to stop. 18 laps on those softs. There will be 19, of course. I think you said earlier on that 25 laps out of these softs can be achieved, and it's looking likely that that could be achieved at this stage. Nevy doing everything in his power, but looking at the gap between him and Siege, it's 27.4 seconds. I make that roughly a 6/10 difference in favour of Siege at this stage. So just keep on watching the timings, because that's going to be the best indicator.
I'll absolutely keep an eye on the timings. I mean, that's what I'm good at, right?
Anyway.
Well, apparently, yes. Apparently I'm good at that. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. There is Jeffrey in 4th place. You're watching him just tackle the hairpin there as we head on to lap number 20. It is Navy still leading. Let's have a look further down the field then. We've got Graham here in 8th place, just making his way through as White sets the fast lap of the race. 1:21.9, another one into the 1:21.9s. As he looks to try and counteract that pressure from Siege. So that gap is now up to 12 seconds. It was about 11.5 seconds, and hopefully James is okay there. That didn't sound healthy, that mic on his end, but hopefully he's all right. But Graham here tackling that hairpin as he looks to try and close down Yuzi. The gap at the moment is 5.3 seconds. As he tackles this hairpin now, keeping that wheel spin all under control as you now make your way through that slight kink of 11, then the slight kink of 12. This little right-hander here as we now make our way all the way towards that chicane, and you have all the time in the world to think about this one. Your braking point, just as soon as there is a dip in the track, is where drivers seem to be braking at this moment in time. As soon as the car jumps down, that seems to be the braking point for these drivers. But Graham here heading towards the line, currently setting 1:24.5. That's 4/10 off his personal best in this race so far. So he'll be hoping that his 8-lap-old soft tyres, he can get a little bit more performance out of them towards the end of this race.
Yeah, I think he's managing the tyres quite well. I've noticed with his gearing, he short shifts between 2nd and 3rd, and that is where the back end does decide to drop on you. He's doing half-10 tough in the first sector, but he's run completely wide at the chicane. That's through turn 6 and turn 7, and that's what I mean. Just trying to get the gearing right between gears 2 and gears 3. S-Graham struggling with that back end slightly there, and he's just lost a little bit of time to Uzi.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have Maze here. It's 6.2 the gap is currently, but as you can see, the clouds are starting to form over the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We have been told it will be a dry race, but who knows at this point. There's Jeffrey spun it! Jeffrey spun it at turn 2! On the exit. We're talking about how he's trying to keep that back end in check, and he's obviously lost the back end out of turn 2 and lost a chunk of front wing as well. There's a load of trees in the way. Yeah, there you go. Right hand side of that front wing, and Jeffrey's day here has just got considerably worse as Maze moves his way up to 4th place. That might be a mixture of the back end stepping out, and that also might be a mixture of those 20-lap-old soft tyres. It might be time to call it into the pits now, as that is Sean getting it wrong now through the entrance of turn 7. That back end definitely wanted to step out on him. Sean here might not know that Jeffrey has a bit of front wing damage. He might know soon enough down in towards turns 8 and 9 about the overspeed he'll have out of turn 9 especially. And I don't think Jeffrey's going to put up too much of a fight if Sean comes knocking on the door as we head now down towards the hairpin. Sean knows he's just got the patience now to hold off here, and Jeffrey leaving the door open for Sean, then up the inside he goes, and that is Sean taking 5th place away from Jeffrey. Now let's hope Jeffrey doesn't do what Alan did earlier on in this race and miss his braking point towards the hairpin. He's got to remember that Sean's going to brake earlier for turns 13 and 14, so he's got to remember that. Will he remember that, I wonder? Yes, he will remember that. And he now heads his way into the pits for what's going to be a very, very painful 30-odd seconds.
Yeah, he'll be cursing himself after spending that, Jeffrey. He should be coming out around about Casper at this stage. That'll be for a battle between P8 and P9, I would think, when he does rejoin out on track. There's nothing really going on out on track now that all of this has happened. Well, nothing really happening at all.
We did miss Jeffrey's spin. That was something, but yeah, at this moment in time, I'm just watching Jeffrey getting a change of wing and a change of tyres, and away he goes at last. But there goes. Where is Casper? I wonder. He's just heading down the start finish straight there. It is going to be quite close. Well, the nature of the pit lane means I think Jeffrey. Oh, he's lost the back end and hit the pit wall on the right hand side. I wonder if he's got a bit of front wing damage. They're side by side here on the exit of the pit lane, and it looks like Casper has the position there. Jeffrey going on to a set of super soft tyres as they make their way now down towards turns 3 and 4. But can Jeffrey here try and get back that position? He's lost to Casper with that front wing change.
Yeah, not even out the pits, and he decides to lose the back end, which is a shame, but that is the cool nature of the tyres. You can see him really struggling with the coldness of these tyres at this stage and losing the time to Casper. He will be on the quicker tyres though, so I would expect that gap to come back down all of a sudden. And just to point out, by the way, that in that battle for the lead, White and Siege completely stabilised, and in fact it's gone out by another 3/10, so White clearly doing a sterling job there in current second place. But watch out for Navy, because he's might be coming in the pit soon, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'll give it another 2 laps, I reckon, 2 or 3 laps before we see Navy in, and in before he now pits in from the race lead. I wonder, will he go straight on? Will he start braking? Looks like he's going to go and take the circuit. So yeah, no curse to the commentator this time around, James, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, that is exactly how you do it. Fantastic stuff. Jeffrey's still close to Casper, 1.2 seconds.
I have to say as well, Navy's been pretty consistent out there. He's just set a 1:23.0 on those soft tyres. That's only a 10th off of his personal best on those set of tyres, so he's being very consistent today. Jeffrey losing that back end out of turn 2. He doesn't want to do that again, that's for sure. But he now makes his way towards turns 3 and 4 as we see Casper going through your picture, then followed by Jeffrey. But he's losing time here, Jeffrey. I wonder if he's just pushing those super soft tyres just a little bit too hard at the moment. Casper there picks up a 3-second time penalty for his corner cut at turn 6, and he's got to be careful. Make sure he doesn't get any more. Navy, meanwhile, riding the sleeping policeman through turn 9 as White is closing that gap bit by bit. At the moment, the gap is now 10.7 seconds, and because the gap between Siege and White has stabilised, that means Siege is closing in on White as well. So, sorry, White is closing in on Navy. Oh my goodness, that's not good at all. Navy has just gone 2/10 quicker than his personal best through sector 2, so he must have got the call from the team to just pick up the pace a little bit. Maybe this is an in-lap of dreams. No, he's going to keep on going though as he makes his way through the chicane. Let's see if this is his personal best so far as he makes his way towards the line. You can see there it's a qualifying lap because he stayed to the right hand side, and yes it is 1:22.8. that's the fastest he's been so far in this race, so that's his personal best. So even on 24 lap old soft tyres, he's still trying to put in a performance to keep himself ahead of White and Siege.
Yeah, just comparing lap times between Navy and White, it's about a second being closed down every lap. Within the last 5 or so laps, White's just beginning to close that gap by about a second per lap, and that was proven last time out. It was a bit of an outlier almost. White only gained 0.8 of a second that last lap.
Well, Graham here trying to tackle the chicane of turns 8 and 9 as he looks to try and secure 7th place. He's in a bit of a race of his own at the moment. The same could be said about Yuzi as well. 5 seconds ahead of Graham, 21 seconds behind Sean. And, well, to be fair to Yuzi, he did start in 10th place. He's now up to 6th place. He's had a good performance so far. He's just had a couple of shaky moments, especially in the battle between Casper and Maximus. Just seemed to lose all confidence as soon as one of them got past, and then it just allowed the teammate to go through. But at the moment, that's why he's struggling out there, is that he does have front wing end plate damage right hand side of his car. You can see there is an end plate off, so that's why he's struggling out there. That's why he's lost so much time to Sean ahead.
Yeah, he has lost a lot of time, and I think it's been quite noticeable throughout the race. Even in the first stint before he came into the pits, he had front wing damage as well. But Uzi's still continuing. That gap is remaining, oh, it is stable, but SPM now beginning to close them in slightly. 5 seconds that gap. And just to point out, by the way, May's beginning to struggle on those tyres. I think I saw him make a mistake, possibly in sector 1, early onto this lap, and he has lost 2 seconds compared to Siege ahead of him.
Currently in 4th place, 21.8 behind Siege, and the question on my mind is, I think, is when is Navy going to pit in? Now, my sort of driver senses sort of say now. Now's the best time to pit. Do it now, but we'll have to wait and see as Navy makes his way towards turns 8 and 9. Of course, trying the alternate strategy of soft tyres to super soft as he now makes his way towards turn 10, this heavy braking zone, as if his tyres stay in check, and they do. In towards turn 10 he goes down to first gear. Oh, it's down to second gear actually, as he short shifts up to reduce that wheel spin. You can see just in the background there, you can just see top of White's car then, as let's see, right on board with Navy then. What's he going to do? Is he going to go straight on, or is he going to start braking for the chicane? It looks like he's coming in, so race leader Navy is into the pits and gets himself a 5-second stop go for speeding in the pit lane. That is the last thing he wanted. Well, considering he's not going to plan any more stops for the rest of the race, that's going to be a 5-second penalty that's added to the end of his race. So that means then White is going to take the race lead. Where is Siege out on track? He's just coming up towards the chicane now. Navy into the pits, on-go a set of super soft tyres, and away he goes. And that car, that MP Motorsport car, is at the end of the pit lane there. Siege goes through, and it looks like he's going to take back second place here in towards turn 1. There is Navy then making his way out of the pit lane, and Siege has well and truly cleared that pit lane exit. So Navy rejoins in third place, and it's a disaster for him because he's now got that 5-second stop-go penalty that he has to serve at the end of the race. That's going to be added on to his race time when the checkered flag falls. So not only does he have to get past Siege, who's 4.8 seconds up the road, he then has to build a gap of 5 seconds in order to at least try and keep that position.
Yeah, he's got it all to do, but he's got the tyres and he's got the pace, and I think Navy will close in on Siege quite rapidly here, and you can already see that gap starting to come down. In the meantime, battle for 8th and 9th. Jeffrey's starting to get closer to Casper, but not really making any sort of impact on the timings at the minute. 1.1 seconds.
Well, Jeffrey does have DRS. The bleep came up to tell him he's got DRS, but he doesn't have it open as we now head down towards turns 13 and 14. So maybe a decision for Jeffrey not to open DRS here. Let's see if it opens this time around. No, it doesn't. Does Jeffrey have an issue with his DRS here? Maybe he does have a problem. So,
the only logical thing that can explain it, really, unless he's just decided not to use it. He's 1.6 seconds and he has lost time because of it.
Oh, and it's pulled over to left.
Oh, and what's happened? He's actually pulling over. He's letting White through.
Yeah, so maybe he didn't use DRS because he didn't want to baffle. Maybe he's now going to use White here to try and stick behind him and see if it will put off Casper ahead of him. So maybe he's trying to play the long game here. But White in the lead then, with Siege in second. Navy is in third. The gap between himself and Siege is now 3.9 seconds. And the thing about the super soft tyres are, they're great at the start of your stint. You can really extract the performance out of them. However, as soon as you get past halfway in the tyre's life, then that's when you start to get the increased wear. And at one point, the tyre wear is going to be worse than those on the soft tyres, which are going to be about 23, 24 laps old by the end of this race.
Yeah, not going to be great. He's going to have to keep his tyres as fresh as possible with 12 laps to go in this race. But he is closing that gap down, and I've got to say he was 7 tenths up in the first sector. He's 1.4 up in the middle sector. So I think we could be seeing a new fastest lap of the race here.
We could be. Let's ride on board with him. This is Navy now. We're riding on board with out of turn 11 in towards the slight right-hander of turn 12 and onwards now towards 13 and 14. Let's see now what he can do in terms of a lap time. Keep an eye on that top right-hand corner. We're only 1 minute 12 so far onto the chicane. Beautifully taken there by Navy as he makes his way towards the finish line. You can see there he's sticking to the right-hand side. He's going for a fastest lap of the race and he gets it. 1:20.799. And that is the fastest lap of this race so far. At the moment, the 2 extra points go home with Navy.
1.2 seconds difference between what was the old fastest lap, TTG White set 21.911, and compared to Navy. And he's got the pace in those tyres, but are they going to last? Because I can see Siege now ahead of him. That gap must only be 2 seconds. 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, 2.5 seconds is all that it is now as Navy exits out of turn 7 and onwards now towards turn 8. 2.3 now is the gap, and this is what happens now with increased grip from Navy. He's able to take these corners much quicker, a lot more confidence in these tyres. He can put a lot more load through them through the corners. However, that might come back to bite him later on in this race. For now though, he's trying to close in on Siege and he's trying to make this thing happen out on track here.
Yeah, he needs to make that one out on track. He's got to gain 7 seconds on Siege because of that 5-second stop-go penalty. He has got to gain that 5 seconds as well as those 2 seconds to Siege. And I'm going to put out a wild prediction. I'm going to say that Navy is going to get past him either next lap or the lap after. So it'll be 31-32.
Bold prediction there from James here as Navy goes quicker again. 1:20.774, just a couple of hundredths faster, but a couple of hundredths is maybe all Navy needs right now, as he looks to try and secure turn 2, which he has done. Alan Kay, meanwhile, is into the pits to go on to a set of super soft tyres. Of course, he's in the top 10, so he could still go for that fastest lap of the race. He can still try and steal 2 points away from Navy, but Navy, who is on those super soft tyres, trying to hunt down Siege there, is going to put all the performance through those tyres. It's going to be difficult for Alan Kay there to gain the advantage as Navy just gets a little bit sideways out of turn 7. That won't give him too much optimism there, as the rear tyres sort of lit up there. The gap is now 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, just overresting it a little bit in terms of the throttle input, really, there. He just tried to take flat out at turn 7 on the exit. Maybe those tyres starting to go, and now the cloud's starting to gather. Those tyres will not be operating at the temperature that they were when the sun was out. Casper, by the way, it's right on the back of S-Graham coming through. Turns 13 and 14. Woohoo! Nearly in the Wall of Champions there.
Casper backs off again. I think that's just to let through one of the leaders, and it is the leader, White, here. So once again, Casper having to let through White there. That's interesting because Jeffrey's into the pits, actually. This is going to be another... It's going to be a change of tyres, and that's it. On go a set of soft tyres there for Jeffrey. Softs there, so maybe he wasn't confident making those super softs last to the end of the race, so he's gone back out now on a set of soft tyres. Interestingly, I wonder if that's going to be a used set of soft tyres right now. Well, Casper is side by side now with Graham out of turn 7 there, and he's got the move done, and Casper now moves up to 7th place here, as there is your race leader, White, just going through your picture. Meanwhile then, in towards this DRS straight, on towards turn 8 and 9, Navy is trying to close in on Siege now as we head towards that first braking zone of this chicane, and Siege there is trying to hold on to this position. Navy wants this position badly, trying a little bit of an undercut there on the corner to try and get better exit speed. Here we go now towards turn 10. Navy decides to hold back and try and use the DRS zone. Siege runs deep into turn 10 to try and prioritise the exit. And look at this now, you can see much more exit speed, which is going to help him in the short term. But look at this now, Navy with the DRS, they're going to run side by side now towards turns 13 and 14, and shortly there's not a lot Siege can do out on track here as Navy heads down towards turns 13 and 14. He takes 2nd place, but then picks up a 3-second time penalty. So he's got at least 8 seconds now worth of penalties, and that is something we're going to have to check, James.
Yep, that's what I'm going to do now. Navy is through on Siege, though he is up to P2 out on track. That was Navy's second 3-second time penalty. So he has actually got 11 seconds instead of 8 seconds. It's going to be a mountain to climb now if he wants to get that 2nd place.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see what Siege's penalties are like. I wonder if he's picked up any penalties. Mays has just picked up one, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's his first one of the race. Yeah, it's going to be a mountain to climb, as you say, James, for Navy. And as long as Siege can just stay within that touching distance, within that distance he needs, then that's all he needs to do. He knows he doesn't have to push. Oh, runs deep into turn 8, though. That's not going to help him one bit.
Yeah, pushing too hard on those 21-lap-old softs. Are they going to make it to the end? Does he have to pit again, possibly?
Well, we've got... what's that?
Touch and go.
Yeah, 8 laps to go, and you'll have, by the end of this race, about 29 laps worth on those tyres. So it could be a little touch and go. We did see Navy take... Oh, that's a lot of back end there for one of the cars. Wasn't quite sure who it was. It was either... oh, sorry. Clicked the wrong button there, and it just showed a blue screen. So I do apologise about that. I've clicked one of the DNF cars, which is a thing that can happen now. Oh, I just saw rain! James, I just saw rain.
Rain?
Starting to fall down. Yeah, I'm seeing drops of rain on the car. So it's starting to rain here in Canada, and this is going to be a nightmare scenario for the drivers. Now, they would have seen on the forecast that it might have been sunny or overcast all the way through. So that's going to suggest to the drivers that they're going to have to stay on these dry tyres. And in fact, do I see damage on White's car on the right-hand side? I do. That's an end plate off of race leader White's car. So less downforce in these now what's going to become tricky conditions. This is going to be a headache and a half for White. This is the last thing he wanted.
This is the last thing he wanted indeed. I didn't even notice the damage, to be honest. I don't know where he's picked that up out on track. He is losing the time though to Navy. Even on those tyres, Navy beginning to close in. But the rain now starting to fall. Will it impact on the track surface? I think it might, just before the end of the race. That rain decides to get heavier. We could be seeing, if we've got wet tyres, could be seeing wet tyres for F2.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a case for the drivers now of when do they start to try and approach these corners with caution, as we see more on-track battling, James.
Yeah, where Sean came from, Mays has been making mistakes galore. Sean, right on the back of Mays now, 7 tenths of a second, running into the turn 10 hairpin. Somebody just running wide there. That's Alan Kay getting out of the way of his teammate, not going to hold him up. That's why the yellow flag is there. But Sean, closing in on him. He has got lap pressure tyres. They're on the same strategy. Just a bit weird to see Sean closing in on Mays. I thought Mays would have had the pace, but here comes Sean, closing in.
Yeah, he's got the DRS open, which means the stewards still think it's safe enough to use it. He'll get a second go of it. Oh, but he loses the back end and gets a 3-second time penalty. And that pressure he put on Mays there has been relinquished for now.
Alan Kay's in.
Surely it's too early.
Surely not.
Surely it's too early. It has to be too early.
He is.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's a change of front wing as well. That's just way too early for Alan Kay here. But obviously, the team might be thinking there's a monsoon on the way. Who knows? But on go a set of wet tyres then for Alan Kay. But I'm going to say it now. That is the wrong call. And if he's fighting for a point as well, you've got to watch out for George. Okay, he's a lap down on Alan Kay, but that could all change in the blink of an eye as he's struggling there already through turn 7. And some of these cars around some of these corners are struggling as well, with Sean still trying to close in now on Mays. He's regained all that time he lost now in one lap, as we can head now once again head towards that hairpin. Alan Kay then rejoins in 10th place as the rain starts to fall, the track starts to get a little bit slippery as Sean then loses the back end slightly, nowhere near as much as last lap, and he might have a chance here. DRS is still online. DRS open now for Sean as we make our way towards turns 13 and 14. Sean's going to go for it. Up the inside we go. Down towards the chicane. He's got the inside line and Mays lets him go. Sean gets to position. How about Mays on the exit though? Sean has the DRS. Mays is going to stick close to him in that slipstream. We have 5 laps to go here in Canada, but Mays here is not going to be close enough to have a go, so he'll stay in 5th place. But Sean then, as James said, out of nowhere, now up to 4th place.
Yeah, fantastic move by Sean, gaining the opportunity there, opportunistic move, and Sean is up to P4. They're on the same strategy still, and Sean will start to pull away. By the way, gap for the lead, 5.9 seconds. Where on earth was that came from? Because that was 8 seconds last time I looked.
Yeah, this looks like a combination of the tricky conditions right now and White's loss of front wing. So that downforce on the right-hand side is going to severely affect him. There goes Navy through that chicane. He's taking it a lot more confidently than White is, that's for sure, and that's where he's gaining all the time, much more confident through the corners. But you can see already 2.5 seconds down on his delta at the moment, so that's how much the rain is affecting the surface. It's nowhere near yet time for that crossover, and I think there's got to be a certain point where the drivers have got to think, right, I've got to stay on these slicks to the end of the race, and we're getting to that point now where even if the heavens do open, you're going to see drivers just stick it out and stay on these slick tyres.
Yeah, I totally agree on that they have to stay out on the dry tyres. You don't want to be like Alan Kay going on a set of wets. But it is still dry, and in fact, I'm not being foolish here, but I think the rain's starting to ease off.
Could be. It's so hard to tell. All we can say is that it is still raining, but there is a confident bit of blue in the skies. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. White is still leading. 4.5 seconds is the gap between himself and Navy. I wonder what the penalties are for White and Siege. That's something we didn't look up, James. It might be worth seeing what the battles are like. But at the moment, all of the top 3 have spread out pretty evenly. Gap between White and Navy, 4.3. Gap between Navy and Siege, 4.3. Very evenly spread out as we head now towards the last 3 laps of this race, and White is going to hold on here for a white knuckle ride and the most intense 3 laps I think he's been through in a while. Front wing damage, rain is falling, and yeah, still falling here at turn 2. He's going to find himself in a bit of a headache at the moment, especially if he's got penalties.
Yeah, he's going to be in so much of a headache. White does not have any penalties though. I've been through the race director, and the top 3 is as follows. White has got no penalties. Navy with that 11 seconds, a 5-second stop go. There's the yellow flag in sector 3. No guesses who that is. That's Alan Kay. Oh, and Mays has spun as well. Mays has lost his front wing. That's at the hairpin.
We've got another car off there as well in the background.
That's Alan. That's Alan Kay, I think, up in the back. Oh, it's George. George.
So lots of drivers struggling now at the hairpin. That just seems to be where the hotspot is for the damage. And Mays, who was running so well in 5th place, has just lost the back end and hit the wall completely. And that's going to be a loss of front wing. I don't know whether now he goes out on a set of slick tyres. White here trying to go round the outside of the corner to just try and find some grip out there. It seems to have worked for now, but Navy 2.6 seconds now behind as Mays is into the pits, and Casper here might be looking to try and take that 5th place away as Casper actually moves to the right hand side to let other cars through before the chicane. And well, White here is really struggling now, but buckle your seatbelts. We're in for a final 2 laps. That is going to be heart-stopping, that's for sure. White, can he hold on with that front wing damage? Casper goes through for now. Where is Mays? He's just heading out of the pit lane exit now. So Casper is going to take hold of 5th place. So Mays then rejoins on a set of soft tyres. So he's rejoined on slick tyres. He knows those are the better tyres. Oh, Casper has a little bit of a sliding back in out of turn 2. Holds on to it magnificently though. Just still in full control of the car. So Navy has 11 seconds worth of penalties. We didn't cover Siege there, James, because I cut across you.
Yep, Siege has only got 3 seconds worth of time penalties. 3 seconds worth of time penalties. That was picked up on lap 30. Lap 30 for Siege. So looking good at the minute for White and Siege.
Yeah, I don't think White will necessarily know how many penalties they will have, and Navy picks up another 3 second time. That's now 14 seconds for Navy now. So that's all but confirmed that he's probably going to finish down in 3rd place. But you see there, White, he's taken such a wide line through the hairpin there just to find some grip on these slick tyres. You're always taught in karting that if it ever starts to rain and you're on the slick tyres, stick to the outside of the track because that's where the grip's going to be. That's exactly what White is doing, and well, it's sort of levelled out the playing field down the straight there. But even with that front wing damage, he's going to struggle as White now picks up 3 seconds worth of time penalties as you now enter onto the final lap of the feature race here in Canada. White leads from Navy and Siege in 3rd place here, as White is really struggling with those tyres here. He's really struggling with that front wing as well. And we'll have to keep an eye on Siege as well, because Siege has the oldest tyres.
Oh, Navy's lost it! Navy's lost it! Oh, I can't believe it!
Navy losing the back end out of turn 2. There goes Siege through. That's probably the easiest overtake he's ever had in his life. Up to 2nd place he goes. Navy's just got to try and limp it to the finishing line now. He's got 14 seconds worth of time penalties, so he's just got to try and limp home to try and grab that final podium spot. But White here levels the playing field with himself and Siege by getting that 3 second time penalty. The gap is now 5.9 seconds. We've got half a lap to go here. Still drama unfolding in these final closing stages. Into these final kilometres now we go, heading all the way now down towards turn 10. It has been quite a ride for White here as he once again goes to the outside of the track there to try and find the grip out of the corner. There is Siege going through your picture as well. It has not been an easy race for White whatsoever, especially in this last part. Part of a front wing missing, raining as well. Well, the racing gods didn't want White to win, but I'll tell you what, he's put in a magnificent performance today as he rounds off into the final corners now. It is White who is going to try and come across the line. He gets the wheel spin in check and he wins the feature race here in Canada. What a drive from White. Really excellent stuff there. Siege is going to come across the line in 2nd place, and Navy with that moment late on at turn 2 is going to come across the line to finish in 3rd place there with a wounded car. And he does finish 17 seconds down on the leader. But, well, it could have been a lot worse for Navy. He could have retired. We've seen Maximus retire from a situation like that on the last lap as well. Graham's got past Yuzi. Yuzi's lost it at the final chicane, and Graham has picked up the position. He now moves up to 7th place. Yuzi then into 8th place he goes. Jeffrey's going to come across the line. He will finish in 9th place there and take away 2 points. Sean, meanwhile, making his way now towards that final chicane. And, well, he made that move on Mays, and then Mays lost the back end. that Sean here is going to come across the line, and he will take that 4th place, and I believe he is the last car to finish on the lead lap as he crashes across the line. Alan Kay here, he's just deciding not to take the final chicane with those wet tyres, and to be honest with you, I won't blame him for that one. But he will come across the line to finish 10th, and there is George there at the hairpin, showing us how slippery it is out there. He will finish outside of the points, but fair play to George for sticking with it and sticking to those tyres to try and get to the end. It was worth the run. We had 2 retirements. George was just hoping for one more to try and grab a point. Hasn't happened for him today, so he will finish in 11th place as he makes it towards the start-finish line. Well, what a race we've had, especially these closing stages as George makes his way towards the line. But your winner here in the feature race here in TTL F2 in Canada, White takes the checkered flag in a dramatic F2 race.
Fantastic win from, absolutely fantastic win from, tactically absolutely brilliant on that race. And we're going to see the podium celebrations now.
Absolutely, and White has fully deserved this one. Pole position and managed to convert it into the race win. He went for that super soft to soft strategy, started to rain at the end, and even with front wing damage, he managed to hold his own out there and keep the pressure at bay. I think he'll be the most relieved man here in Canada for that checkered flag to fall. But it's a well-deserved win here for White. He did have the pace before that front wing went off, but he's even saying in the chat he blames the weatherman for that dry race. But the important thing is he's made it to the checkered flag and takes, I believe, is his first race win of the season. Siege then finishing in 2nd place as we have a look at the official, unofficial results with Siege finishing in 2nd. Navy picks up 2 extra points for the fastest lap of the race. At least he has that to take away from him as he takes that final podium spot. Sean then in 4th with Casper 5th, Mays in 6th, Graham in 7th, Yuzi in 8th, Jeffrey in 9th, and Alan Kay picking up the last of the points with George just finishing outside of the points then with Crazy Legs and Maximus not finishing this race and not making it to the checkered flag. Well, James, I have to say, what a dramatic race that was, and let's hope they're all like that.
Let's hope they're all like that indeed. Shades of Canada 2011 there, right at the end with the rain starting to fall, dries out, goodness me. But White takes the win, deserved win, but remember, Navy picks up that extra 2 points for the fastest lap, 1:20.7. That could be crucial in his battle for the championship.
Absolutely, and as frustrating as it would have been for Navy to lose the back end there, I think in the back of his mind he realised with 14 seconds worth of penalties it was always going to be tough to hold on to 2nd place there, but he does take away that podium position and 17 points. I mean, you can't complain about that with that fastest lap. He'll be able to take that away from him, so he's only lost a point on Siege. That's how crucial these points are turning out to be. And of course, don't forget, White had pole position, so he actually walks away from this weekend with 29 points as opposed to 25.
He does, yeah. 4 points gained for that pole position, of course. As that is the action over and done with.
Absolutely, and hopefully you've enjoyed that as much as we have commentating over it. We had drama at the start, drama in the middle, and then real drama right at the end of this race. And I hope you've enjoyed every single second of it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the commentary team as well. We struggled to keep up with that one, but we did our absolute best. Hopefully then we will be able to join us next time when I believe we then visit Austria.
I think we do visit Austria next race, yeah.
If anybody says the hills are alive with the sound of X, I retire. I won't be able to take it anymore. But yes, hopefully you've enjoyed that one as much as we have. Make sure you're following the league on Twitter. It's at TTL_F2. You can also follow me whilst you're there as well. It's at KSMCG F1. And you can follow James whilst you're there as well.
Yeah, my username is a bit less complicated. I am at B52head on Twitter. Of course, I'm the Academy Manager. And well done to White, by the way, because he is going to be competing in the mini-league for the Academy team as well. And watch out for Twitter, because there's going to be, hopefully, 2 new signings to the Academy team coming very soon.
Oh, very good, very good. Make sure you subscribe then to the channel as well at TTTV, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we go live. Next time we're live will be TTL F1, and we head to the Austrian Grand Prix, so I really hope you can join us for that one. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching. I've been Kieran McGinley.
And I've been James Head.
Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.